How's everybody doing this evening? Back again with another video for you guys. And now we're going to be doing my full review of the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge. Now I've been using this for a while. I think I pretty much covered everything I want to do that I need to know about this device. So it's full review time. Alright, so to start off, let's talk about the build quality on this guy. Now, from a build quality standpoint, I have to say that this phone is constructed quite well. It feels great in the hand. All the buttons are very tactile. There's no creaking of any kind, and honestly, you can tell that this device was well constructed. So the build quality on this is very solid. Next, let's talk about the display. Up front, dead center here, you have a 5.6-inch Quad HD display. And I must say, as displays go, this display is quite good indeed. And it does get really bright outdoors, and I had no issues with it using it outdoors whatsoever. And that being said, let me just show you guys real quickly now. That this display has a 580 pixel density, and as I've said, it's a Quad HD display, so you can see right there that's 1600 by 2560 Quad HD. And man, like I said, when I say this display gets bright, this display gets really bright. And I must say, from a viewing perspective, the viewing angles on this guy are pretty good. So the display is top notch. No issues with the display. Let me dial the brightness back down before I blind myself. There we go. Alright, so next, what I want to talk about with you guys is the hardware and software that comes with this guy. So from a hardware perspective, this device is running a Snapdragon 805 processor clocked at 2.65 gigahertz, and it has an Adreno 420 GPU. It has 3 gigabytes of RAM and 32 gigabytes of built-in storage, with micro SD card expansion of up to, they quoted, 64 gigs. But I'm pretty sure this can handle up to a 200 gig card. All you gotta do is try it out. Other things, it has a 16 megapixel rear facing camera with an LED flash and a heart rate sensor on the back. It has a 3.7 megapixel front facing camera on the front here, and it has light and proximity sensors built into the top here, and a notification LED that is multicolored. Along the bottom, it has capacitive keys, back over here, and recent apps over here, and you have your home button in the middle, which also doubles as a fingerprint scanner. That being said, let's just get this out the way right now. I don't like the way they implemented this fingerprint scanner. It's a swipe fingerprint scanner, and I found that it's really hard to swipe this fingerprint scanner with one hand, even though I've registered the finger in multiple ways. So to just alleviate that problem, I just turned the fingerprint scanner off. So that's that. Now, moving on, let's talk about the software in this guy. So this guy right here is running Android 6.0.1, which is the latest version of Android Marshmallow, as you can see right there. Let me get that to focus. And I must say, it's pretty neat to see a Samsung device running the latest version of Marshmallow. Now, there are some caveats to that. However, they took out some key features, or at least one key feature that I believe is essential to Android Marshmallow, and that is the ability to make your external SD card internal storage. They disabled that feature, and you know, that's really a feature that I look forward to when I have a device running the latest version of Android. But it's not a deal breaker. It's no big deal. It is what it is. Other software things include, keep in mind now this is running TouchWiz, so you can see it's themed out pretty heavily with Samsung's usual high punchy colors. And you can see they really themed out the settings here, so it's really bright and colorful. Now, what I'm going to do when it comes to the software, I'm just going to highlight some key features that I use. So, one, inside of the settings, these are your quick settings, and you can rearrange this however you would like to suit your needs. So it's up to you. You can just edit it like so, and whatever you select will be available up at the top for you to edit quickly. And as you can see, it only allows you to pick 9 at a time. So I just put the 9 recent things that I use on a daily basis. Other than that, it's a pretty stock affair of Android. Aside from the fact that Samsung also integrated some key stuff here. So you have the Edge feature with all of the Edge functionality on it, so you can swipe on it and set up different panels. Right now I only have the one because I kind of set it up as something to quickly access my apps. So I have all my folders and the apps that I use on a daily basis on the Edge right here. Other than that, you do have a built-in night clock here, and I do have that set to activate at certain times of the night. And other things, being a Samsung device, you know it's running TouchWiz. And with TouchWiz, you get your nice dual window feature. I have to turn it on here, turned it off. But you get your nice dual window feature. All you gotta do is hold down the back button here, and you can launch 2 apps at a time. And aside from that, you can launch Windows apps. And so pretty much what I do with this is I have set up particular apps that I could launch at one time. And one of my favorite apps to launch here would be the Amazon and the eBay. Because you know I'm always looking for hot deals, and it's pretty cool that you can check out both apps at the same time. So if you want to compare prices and look for hot things, you can do that. And this really does make this device one of the best productivity tools to get stuff done. Other features, as you can see along the bottom here, this device does come with your S Pen, so you have all of your S Pen features. And that includes Action Memo and Screen Write and all of that stuff. Me, myself, the one that I use the most will probably have to be Screen Write. And, you know, because it just makes it easy to take notes on the particular stuff that I have on the screen. And probably Action Memo, so I could jot down numbers and things real quickly and save them later on. Also, you have the ability to add your own custom apps in here, and it could pretty much be whatever you want it to be. Any app that you have installed on here, you could add that into the S Pen functionality and use that straight from the S Pen feature. But as I said, I'm just going to quickly cover what I use. So that's that. And that pretty much wraps up the software on this guy here. Now, one thing that I don't like is that although this got updated to Marshmallow, it's still running the older TouchWiz UI, so you don't have the built-in themes engine like you do on the newer Samsung Galaxy devices, but it is what it is. Now, let's move on and let's talk about some of the glitches, stutters, and crashes that I've had with this guy. Now, from a glitches standpoint, I would say that the only real glitch that I have is that sometimes when you open a folder, it does take a second to open, as you've seen right there. I actually found that I have to tap it twice sometimes, but that's like a rare occurrence. But it does happen ever so often. Like right there, I touched it, and I gotta keep touching it, and then finally, there it goes. So it does take a minute. Other than that, I would say that the software experience has been pretty smooth. Pretty smooth indeed. No big crashes on here, but I do have to note that when I was installing some games, I did have some issues installing a game in particular, and that would be NBA Jam. But I found that while it was installing, it did crash a few times, but I did eventually get it to install, and it runs smoothly, no issues with it whatsoever. Now, let's keep it moving. The next thing I want to talk about with you guys is the Wi-Fi and the overall Wi-Fi performance. Now, this device has 802.11.BGN and AC Wi-Fi, so it has the latest Wi-Fi modems in it, so you really are getting some quality Wi-Fi speeds in this guy. Now, let me just pull up the test to show you guys. Now, I did run this multiple times, and you can see you get some really good Wi-Fi speeds. That being said, when it comes to data, I'm only getting HSPA Plus or 3G speeds, no LTE speeds on this guy. But that's not a deal breaker, at least for me, because I could still do everything I need to do, whether I'm at home or out on the street. Everything still works, and I don't have any issues. So now, what I'm going to do is just launch a real quick YouTube video so y'all can see it in action. I think I had one I was looking at here. Yeah, this is my uploaded camera sample from earlier. And I'm just going to play a few seconds. This way y'all get to see the Wi-Fi performance, and you also get to hear the speakers. Now, it's a rear mounted speaker. Y'all already know how I feel about rear mounted speakers, but it is what it is. It is what it is. So let me be quiet for a second, and y'all enjoy these few seconds. Yes, this one's at UHD resolution, and this is the 16 megapixel camera on the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge. Now this one might be a little shaky because at UHD resolution, I lose. And then check out the sign. That's pretty cool. Got it. So, as you can see right there, the speaker sounds pretty good, and the Wi-Fi performance is actually really good indeed. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the bands available in this device. Now, this device is unlocked, but it originally was a Sprint unit. But let me go ahead and just tell you, if you do pick up this device, as long as your carrier supports these bands, you should have no problems picking up service. So I'm just going to run through all the bands. So that includes all the GSM bands, HSPA, HSPA Plus. Now we're going to get into the LTE bands, and this is model specific. So the first model here is SM915G, and that one supports band 7 2100, that's band 7 2600, band 8 900, band 28 700, band 1 2100, band 2 1900, band 3 1800, band 4 1700 and 2100, and band 5. The next model is the SM N915YF, and that supports all the aforementioned bands plus band 20. So you get the addition of band 20 right there. And the next model down is the SMN915A, and that supports all the bands that I mentioned earlier, plus bands 12 and 17. Bands 12 and 17 are especially important if you're on T-Mobile like myself, because that's what ensures that you get the absolute best performance. The next model is SMN915T, and that supports all the aforementioned bands. Yeah, that supports all of them. And that's pretty much it for the bands. So as long as your carrier supports those bands, you should have no issues whatsoever. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about is the Bluetooth performance in this guy. Now, from a Bluetooth perspective, this guy is running Bluetooth 4.1, and I must say, I've had no issues with Bluetooth. You guys know, if you checked out some of my previous videos, that I have a ton of devices, a ton of headphones, a ton of speakers, and this hooked up to those devices and worked no problems whatsoever. So I can honestly tell you, the Bluetooth on this device is really solid. Now, next, what I want to talk to you guys about is the GPS in this device. And GPS, at least for me, is one of the most important things, because I'm not too directional savvy. So when I got to do stuff out on the street and I don't particularly know where I'm going, I tend to lean more heavily on the GPS. So let me just pull that up real quickly. And I got to tell you, the GPS on this guy locked in really quickly, and I had no issues with it. Now, you can see it was accurate up to 30 feet, and that was just for this one particular test. I did at times get it accurate up to 10 feet, but it locked on within seconds. If I had to put a number to it, I would have to say between 1 and 3 seconds. It locked on, so the GPS in here is actually really good. Now, the next thing I want to talk to you guys about is the overall call quality and speaker performance. Now, from a call quality standpoint, this device was really good. I didn't have any issues with call quality. The receiver was really good. I could hear the caller on the other end, and they could hear me with no problems whatsoever. Now, when it comes to speaker calls, however, I found that I was just wishing that the speaker calls was a little bit louder. I found myself dialing it up even though it was already maxed out. So the speaker calls could have been a little bit better. But it is what it is. Now, we're going to just go ahead and talk about the camera UI. Then I'm going to give y'all some camera samples, and we're going to move on to the next thing. So here, as you can see, is the camera UI, and it's pretty straightforward. And you can see, if I tap the settings icon, that we have a 16 megapixel camera here. Let me let that focus up so y'all can see. Alright, having some issues focusing tonight. But you do have a 16 megapixel camera, and you can change the resolution all the way down to 6 megapixels. And what I like about this is that you have a 16 megapixel camera that shoots with all 16 megapixels in 16:9 format, so you get that nice widescreen format. And y'all already know I like to shoot in widescreen because it gives that nice cinematic look to it. And also, you have in here, when you hit the hamburger menu down there, you have all these settings that you could tweak to your heart's content. So you can control the exposure, you can control the ISO, you can control the white balance, you can control the metering. Me, myself, I tend to lean more towards spot metering. I found that takes pictures a little bit better, at least in my opinion. I believe it takes pictures a little bit better, but it's really up to you. And you have the 3 different metering modes. So you have center weighted metering, you have matrix metering, and then you have spot metering. Along with that, you have HDR mode, you have the tap to take a picture mode. So if you don't want to use the on-screen shutter button or the volume keys, you could just tap the screen to take a picture. Then when you go to videos, you can shoot videos all the way up to UHD resolution. And y'all see I have tons of video samples up on YouTube that demonstrate pretty much all of these resolutions except for standard HD. And I must say, guys, from a camera standpoint, I think this camera is really solid. And that's pretty much all the stuff I wanted to cover in the camera here, at least in the camera settings. You also have voice commands, so if you wanted to take a picture using your voice, you could do that. You could say things like smile, cheese, kimchi, take a picture, stuff like that. Now, down here across the bottom, you have your camera modes. And what I like about this is that unlike previous Samsung devices, Samsung has really stripped out all the extra modes that their phones used to come with and pretty much just left you with what I consider to be the bare essentials. So you have auto, you have rear selfie mode, you have selective focus, which lets you lock focus on a particular item, and then you have panorama, which is standard. You have slow-mo, and the slow-mo is actually really good on this. I have a video sample demonstrating that up on YouTube. Y'all can just check out my video samples playlist. You have fast mode, and you can manage your modes, and then you can download more modes by hitting this button here, and it'll take you to the Samsung store to download more modes. So all in all, I have to say that they really did do a great job with this camera UI and the camera setup, and it really does make things very fast and smooth depending on what you want to do. So now we're just going to go ahead and take a look at some photo samples. And you know what? I think what I'm going to do is just share all of these photos on Google+. So if you want to see all the photos that I've taken with this camera, please follow me on Google+. So you can see this was a nice, moderately lit shot of some nice food here. This is salmon with some nice vegetables. And then this was outside at the park. And I really think that the photo here is really nice and punchy. In some instances, these photos seems to be a lot more punchy than the actual photo that I took in real life. But it really was some solid shots. And then this is an example of the front-facing camera here. And if you pick this phone up, when it comes to the camera, I think you will be really happy. And then let me just show y'all here. All these video samples is up. And then these are just in my office here with moderate lighting. And then this is with no lighting whatsoever, just the flash. And really, I don't think this camera that I'm using to shoot this video does this picture much justice, but this picture looks really good. And again, this is another low light shot with no light, just the flash from the phone. And again, this picture turned out really good. So in terms of cameras, you pick this guy up, I don't think you're gonna have any problems with the cameras on this guy whatsoever. Alright, so now let's keep it moving. Now the next thing on here that I usually talk about is the gaming performance. But really, you know, this phone has been tested a lot, so I don't think I really need to demonstrate the gaming performance. But just know this phone can handle pretty much any game you throw at it with ease. I had no issues with any of the games. Everything ran smoothly, and it was really a wonderful experience. Up next, let's talk about some of the benchmarks in this guy. And now y'all already know how I feel about benchmarks. It means absolutely nothing. It's just a raw performance data. To have an overall good device, you need the right balance of hardware and software, which equates to an overall smooth user experience, which equates to a good user experience. but I just like featuring the benchmarks because I like seeing the raw performance numbers. So this right here is in Velimo benchmark, and this is the multi-core test. And you know, I was really surprised to see a phone this age score middle of the pack, as you can see right there. And then again, this is also in Velimo, and this is the metal test. And again, it scored middle of the pack, which is really, really interesting for a phone of this age. Now, in Quadrant, it pretty much outscored everybody, and you can see that score right there. If I can get it to focus on it. No, it's not going to focus up too well. But it scored a 26,529, which pretty much outscored everything else on this benchmark. And that really is a solid benchmark score. So, and then in Geekbench 3 here, you can see we scored a 1,071 on the single core and a 3,268 on the multi-core, which is a pretty decent score for a phone of this caliber. On a side note, I found that this was really, really interesting here. It actually has more available memory than the Moto X Pure Edition that I'm using to shoot this video. So I just wanted to point that out because it has 2.71 gigs available, whereas the Moto X Pure Edition has about 2.5. So that was really, really weird there, so I had to just take a picture so I could point that out. Up next, in the Antutu scores, you can see it scored fairly at the bottom, but it's still a decent score at 65,004, my bad. And then in the 3D Mark Ice Storm Unlimited, it scored a 18,871, which again is a really good score. I think it's right up there close to the Moto X Pure Edition. And I think that pretty much does it for the benchmarks. Alright, so now let's move on and let's talk about the battery life of this guy. Now overall, you guys know I had my usual scenarios, but pretty much in all of my testing, I found that I'm getting anywhere between 4 and 6 hours depending on how I'm using the phone. With lighter days, I'm definitely getting through the day with no issues, with tons of battery to spare. On heavier days, I do find that I have to plug it in a lot more sooner than I would like. That being said, it seems to be getting a lot better battery life than my Moto X Pure Edition. On that same note, the charging in this guy, it does take fast charging. Sorry guys, I had an itch. It does take fast charging, but it's not as fast as the turbo charging found on the Moto X Pure Edition. And I've tried a ton of chargers, and it's just really fast charging. I think on average, it'll probably take this about an hour and a half to get to full charge from 0. And from about 15%, it would take it probably a little bit over an hour. Whereas on the Moto X Pure Edition, it takes about an hour and 10 minutes from 0 to reach full charge, and from 15% to 100 takes about 45 minutes. But it's still pretty fast charging. Now, we've gotten to the price. Now, as y'all know, I did not purchase this device. I actually traded my Moto X Pure Edition for this device, and I honestly think with all of the features that I got that this was a really solid trade. That being said, I was looking around at some prices, and I actually found that you can pick this guy up, depending on condition, brand new, you can pick it up for about $425. Now, if you're willing to get it used, I found that you can find it at about $250 through T-Mobile, or depending on what carrier you're trying to pick it up with. But so it's all up to you. But you know, as I've said, you can't be afraid of those used devices. Just make sure you do your homework so you know just what condition you're getting into when you pick up a used device, and make sure you check out those warranties to make sure you're fully covered if issues arise. Alright guys, so that being said, we finally reached the end, and now I'm going to give you some final thoughts. Overall, I would say that this is a really solid device, and if you're a business-minded individual or running a business where you have to get a lot of productivity things done, then I would definitely recommend that you pick up this phone. If not for any features but the S Pen, I would definitely recommend that you pick this up, because that S Pen just adds another dimension of features to this device, along with the Edge features that you can customize pretty extensively. So that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, if you did, please help your boy out and give the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. If you want to see more raw, uncut content like this, please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you get notified as soon as new videos become available. And as always, guys, if you know anyone out there looking for some quality devices or products at some really great prices, please share with them my channel, because I'm doing this for everyone, because we all deserve the best. Alright guys, I hope everyone has a good evening, and I will catch y'all in my next video. Peace.